Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is actually getting recorded prior, as you can see right there, 11:06. So it's getting recorded prior to the day of release. And the reason for that is, well, because tomorrow I don't know if I'll have time for a video, and if I do, I would like to dedicate it to the winter storm and not necessarily this pattern change or just a more general weather talk, which I'm going to be talking about today. So that's why I'm recording it earlier. Otherwise, yeah, we'll be talking about why this upcoming pattern heightens or enhances the risk for some snow across the south. So it's not, a set in stone thing. It's just my observations, and I wanted to share it with you, what the models have been showing. So if you like what I do on this channel, if you are a consistent viewer and you like what I do, then remember, consider liking the video. It really helps this channel out, really helps the video out, which helps the channel out. Also, if you're new, this is your first video, perchance, go check out this channel, check out my other videos, and see for yourself if this channel is worth a subscription. So right now, let's look at the GFS model and start it off from hour 6. So we're looking at the Wednesday, January 15th. This is the day of the video release. We have a small system across the country, and that's not really the point. We have that bigger storm, which I'll be talking about later on in other videos, or in today's video as well. If you're watching this on Wednesday, I probably will release one. But I want to notice that after this, I want to point out, I meant to say, is after the storm passes through, notice that there's a pretty big chill. You can see there's a little lobe of a polar vortex. That's not really the strongest thing by itself. It looks as if that's plenty below average. This will start, the cold air basically will start pushing down into the southern U.S. This storm, there have been several storms that passed through, different phases, but this one that just came through, the one that will come through this weekend, is really the one that kind of unlocks all this cold air that's been sitting up here for more than a month across northern southern Canada, and into central Canada, not necessarily northern Canada, I guess northern North American continent, if you will. And this all of a sudden spills out into the southern U.S. Now, not all in one big blob, kind of all in little intervals, and that allows us for an extended period of time under chillier, below average conditions, but no extreme cold air, it seems, at this point. Notice though, this really doesn't affect parts of the west, but it does get into the southern U.S. That 540 is a 32-degree line, so if we have any moisture over that could definitely turn into some snow. And notice that with this cold blast in particular, nothing really happens. We get another storm possibly resurging, and from the Gulf of Mexico, this one could be one to watch. Again, very, very far out. January 24th, this one is not even worth talking about. But notice they're saying that there could be some sort of disturbance that brings in a resurging shot of cooler air behind it, and a little low pressure right there, little disturbance in the atmosphere. Notice there's a little kick right there that basically allows for quite a bit of that precipitation to blow up, and you can see there's a southern system potentially across Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe the northern sections getting into this, and into parts of the northeast. And then the cold air kind of stays behind there. You can see if we were to look at the anomalies, it's relatively chilly, especially across the east and southern U.S. So this shouldn't really be just titled across the southern U.S. It could be titled southern and eastern U.S. And if you were to show you the 6 to 10 day outlook and 8 to 14 day outlook, this would further exemplify the cold air that is going to be centered especially across the southern U.S. Notice 6 to 10 day outlook, it's across the southern U.S. and eastern U.S. mainly. This one's a little bit more heavy towards the eastern U.S. coastal area, so maybe a coastal storm possible as well out of this. There have been some indications that there could be some increases of a potential pattern that could support more chances for a larger northeast system, or any system at all for the northeast. A little bit above average returns back to the west. If you were to look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, the cold really centers itself across the southern U.S. But recall or notice that a lot of this cold air still stays across the eastern U.S. And again, it doesn't have to be really cold at all, below average. You see snow in January. It could be, frankly, above average. We could be in a heat wave, if you will, and there still could be a chance for a snowstorm. But again, that's not the case. We're looking at a chilly rest of January, and February looks chilly as well. Let's look at some of the ensemble models, the members. This is several GFS model-like members combined, and they basically argue and bicker over a certain solution, and this is what they get. You can see mean 2-meter temperature anomalies in Celsius. So this is basically in Celsius, so not Fahrenheit. Okay, so when it's 4 degrees below average, that's pretty significant. That's not 4 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 4 degrees Celsius. So obviously in Fahrenheit, that would be probably closer to 8, 12 degrees of that similar magnitude. So notice the warm air still stays. Right now we were looking at a warmer pattern, and we will through this weekend after the storm. It really chills off, and it seems like this cold air, as soon as it seems it'll go away, get pushed up by warmer air, it's just reluctant. And notice that across the southern U.S. and the eastern U.S. it stays pretty prevalent, so that may obviously lead to a heightened chance of some snow, and a general, I guess, snowier and colder pattern is on its way. If we were to look at the European ensembles, they're a little bit contradictory of that. Let's look at the 500 millibar height anomaly. You're going to notice that basically this is just this is the EPS, so it's a bunch of, I guess, European-like members combined. And notice they're showing several troughs, a couple of ridges. Seems like it may be a little bit too warm biased, but notice the blues still are across the southern U.S., indicating that if there's going to be cold air, the European is more, I guess, favorable towards a warm air. It still shows a relatively chilly air across the southern U.S., or the below average, and that could still indicate some chillier temperatures, which could be cold enough for snow in certain locations of the southern U.S. Again, I want to point out that the 8 to 14 day and 6 to 10 day outlook are reliant 50% on the European model. So, just because you're looking at this right now and it looks like if it's very warm, it doesn't really, the Climate Prediction Center even says that it's going to be chilly based on the European, as I said earlier a couple seconds ago. 50% of this outlook is based on a European model, or the ensembles of the European. Notice that they may seem it's showing warmth, but they have been jumping around a little bit, and in earlier runs they've been showing a little bit of chill. European, you can see, is just a mix, not really showing a certain pattern, just kind of getting driven by where the storms are. May we see a more warmer pattern? Yes. Is it something compared to what we saw late December? No. This will be chilly, and I think it will be, if what the European is showing is correct, it looks as if there's going to be a pattern more filled with storms, and a higher chance for snowstorms and snow. However, if it's more of what the GFS is showing, then it should be a little bit less snow, maybe a little bit more enhanced risk towards the south, and more cold across the northern U.S. and drier conditions. So either way, it's a win-win. You get the cold air with one, you get the snowier solution with the other, but it doesn't look as if the GFS is not showing snowstorms at all. As you saw, it was showing a pretty big storm around the 24th on Friday, and a possible one across the south. Again, will that one across the south happen at that time frame? No, but I just wanted to point out, let's go back to the GFS, that these, I guess, confident solutions and consistency has been showing itself throughout the models for the past several days. So they're not really, still picking up on a really big southern system and saying, yep, this is the one. You can see this one was from Sunday, and it was showing at a different time frame, the 23rd, but it was showing a system across the southern U.S. The models are just more willing to show these type of systems now across the southern U.S. You can see right there. And if I'm sure that if I were to be able to quickly find one, if I was given a minute or two from another day that was showing a southern system possibly developing in a longer range. Now let's see if this one has it. It's just I clicked on a random one just to show you that the models have been pretty consistent showing this. Again, this one doesn't show snowstorm, but shows that cold air definitely reaching there, and that's indicated by some rain to snow transition across the southern U.S. So I was planning to make this video on already a couple days prior, and I really just got nudged forward as the models kept showing these, these potential systems across the southern U.S. and with that cold air looking more sustained. So that's something interesting to note of. and it looks as if a more pattern for the cold, cold for the eastern U.S., warmer for the western U.S., as marked by these 8 to 14 outlooks. Looking at the Canadian model, it shows kind of a similar thing of what the GFS was showing. In terms of this first snowstorm, you can see it still shows it, and then it shows like that cooler blast of air behind it, which is supported by all models, including the European, which was the warmer solution. Let's look at the climate forecasting system model. This one is a very long range model, and I don't really like it that much. Not because it's well, because it actually does show very warm conditions most of the time. It's just one of those models that tends to stick to extremes. If it's very cold, if they're showing cold, then they're going to show very cold. If they're showing warm, they're going to show a heat wave. And it's just one of those models that's unreliable, but I still like to glance at once in a while. So out of all the models I showed you, I'll take this one with the with the most grain of salt. It's really even more. If you think the GFS is extreme and jumpy, this one's it's 3 times that amount. Notice it still shows though a little bit of chill across the late January into February timeframe, which I would actually agree with for once with this model, but doesn't happen too often. So I guess we could celebrate that, if you will. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to this channel. Again, check out this channel. Check out the other videos. Consider liking this video, as that helps out a lot as well. See you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.